Today, I'm going to take you through my process for fragging zoanthids, so stay here. What's up, coral people? If you're new here, my name is Remy, and this is the Bahama Llama Coral YouTube channel. If you would like to support the channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you're notified whenever I upload new videos. I appreciate every subscriber. Know that I am grateful, and I mean that. Okay, first, a disclaimer. This is how I, personally, this is how I frag zoanthids. I'm gonna take you through a couple different types of growth patterns. So some that have kind of gone onto the plug, larger polyps and smaller polyps as well. And we can kind of go through each one of those as different difficulty levels. Because I've made Zoa rocks in the past, and that's pretty beginner, so this is a little bit more intermediate, I'd say. This is also how I frag from a frag plug. I won't be fragging from a rock today. I don't have a saw, and I've never actually chiseled Zoas off a rock. I know that that's a technique that some people use, but if you just have Zoas on a frag plug, this is gonna apply more to that. However, if you are fragging from a rock, the same principles apply, you're just working with more material. Also, one more disclaimer, and we'll get into this a little bit later too. I take safety very seriously when fragging, and you should too. Trust me, it's not worth it to find out that the Zoa that just shot you in the face contains paletoxin. You don't wanna end up in the hospital. And also, we're gonna be using bone cutters today. So when you're fragging a plug, you don't want that debris to come up and hit you in the eye either. So again, just protect yourself. I've had several requests for this video, and I'm gonna do it anyway, so I figured I might as well shoot the process. So if you caught it in the last video, and for those of you that are just seeing the channel for the first time, go check out the last video where I traded corals with Jeremy from the Reef News Network, kind of a how-to guide or a walkthrough on how to ship coral and trade with a friend that's states away from you. He sent me several frags of zoanthids, and those are the frags that we are going to slice up today. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why would you frag those? You just got them. And for me, it's all about redundancy. So I've got these two tanks right here, and if I can minimize the chances of maybe losing that strain altogether, if something tragic were to happen to one of these tanks, I would have a copy or a clone of it in the other tank. And reefers frag for multiple reasons. It could be coral encroaching on another's territory, redundancy, like what we're gonna be doing today, or by far the most popular would be to trade and or sell to fellow hobbyists. I've selected 3 different frags for us to slice up today, and they each kind of bring their own set of challenges, so I'll walk you through that as well. Let's go get them out of the tank, we'll put them on the table, and I'll take you through how I frag zoanthids. The first one is called a blue lagoon. It's a larger polyp and one I definitely want to add to the Zoa garden. I don't have a blue Zoa in the Zoa garden yet, so I think this will be a great addition. These next ones are called nightmares, and you can see there's a bunch of polyps here, so I might be able to get 2 or 3 frags out of this, but we'll see. The main goal here is to get 1 for the lagoon and 1 for the frag tank. And these are the Reef News Network Gremlin Zoas. I'm honored to have these. I think there's only a couple people that have these. Jeremy and Peter, obviously the hosts of Reef News Network, have them, and then Devin from Reef Dudes also has a frag. Now, I like to frag after a water change. I leave myself a little bit of excess clean salt water, the stuff that I just mixed up, so I can replace the tank water when I take it out to do the fragging. Otherwise, you're just gonna be taking out salt water from your tank, and your ATO is gonna go crazy, and your salinity is gonna get all jacked up. So, fastest snails in the West. Nightmare. Let's get these over to the table. All right, now we've got these Zoas in the bowl. They're ready to go, and I'm gonna take you around the table and just kind of show you what I use whenever I frag zoanthids. So let's start with, we need the zoanthids. We need a bowl to contain the original frags. This is gonna be our recovery bath, and I'm just gonna toss a couple drops of the Lugals in here, some iodine. Just whenever you're cutting flesh, it's a good idea to give it a little iodine bath. So I use the Kent Marine Lugal solution. I obviously have eye protection that I wear. We'll be using gloves today, obviously. So it's always a good idea to soak the frag plugs before you glue anything to them, because a lot of times what will happen, now these ceramic plugs aren't as bad, they're not as porous, but when you get these regular kind of frag plugs, the typical frag plugs, they're porous. So the oxygen or air that's trapped inside might come out after you've glued. If you haven't soaked them, you don't want any air bubbles coming out of the glue, and that will help that and prevent that from happening. So I've gone ahead and soaked them. I'll put them on this rack just so they're ready to go. And a couple of these I'm reusing. The larger discs have their advantages, and so do the smaller ones. Just depends on what you want to do. These are great for frag swaps if you're preparing for a frag swap, because they take up less room. But if you want to grow something out, these 1.5-inch discs are great. Another thing you'll need is razor blades. Now I just use brand new. I'll be using a brand new one today. These are from CVS. They're just razor blades that you would get there. Now you can use any kind of razor blade that you would like. Just make sure that it's clean. You know, it's not rusty, which is an easy thing to do with anything metal. You'll need bone cutters, toothbrush for cleaning any kind of debris off the plugs, which doesn't look like we'll need today. Tweezers, just in case. And also super glue. You're gonna wanna be able to adhere them to the disc or to the frag plug. So I use Superglue Gel. This is a great product. It's super cheap. The only issue with Superglue Gel is that it doesn't cure as quickly as some of the higher priced like Polyp Lab glues or some of the things you'll find on bulk reef supply. So I like this. It's not bad, and it's super cheap, and you can get it at Dollar Tree. I think a pack of 2 is $1, obviously. So just make sure it's the cyanoacrylate version. That's the gel that's safe. So should we start easy? Let's start easy. So I noticed that the Gremlin is probably gonna be the easiest one to frag, okay? You wanna look for separation from the mother. So this, if we went here to here, it'd be difficult because you've got all that tissue there. You can see this line right here is gonna be the line that we go on. So what I like to do, first and foremost, is just go ahead and take your razor blade. Once you've decided where you're going to cut the flesh, go ahead and go straight through. Now we've made the cut, and I'm just gonna go back through one more time, and now we've made the cut, so that flesh has been severed. Take our bone cutters and just go ahead and see if we can't get a good break in that plug. So there was no tearing, which is what we want. We want a clean cut. So now all we have to do is just clean up the frag plug. I want to try and make sure that the Zoa stays on the plug. That's how I like to frag. I know a lot of people will take a razor blade and try and get underneath and get a layer of the frag plug with it, but this is the safest way that I've found. So now we're just gonna clean up the frag plug and just take some of this excess off. And here's the actual Zoanthids. We have 2 polyps here. We have one here on the side and one here up top. So I'm just gonna come right next to it, just give it one. And I've said this before in fragging videos, do not hesitate when you chomp down on these bone cutters. Commit. You don't, then you'll slide up and down the plug and you might miss and actually take off the Zoa. So this isn't the cleanest in the world, and because we have the Zoa growing on the side, it's hard to half this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue it like that and call it done. Another good thing to do with this glue especially, if you want it to dry a little bit quicker or cure a little bit quicker, just dip it in some water. And then we'll take our tweezers here, dry the bottom of this, and just plop that right down on top. So we got none of the glue touching the actual Zoas, which is good, and that one's good to go. So we'll just go ahead and toss this into the iodine. This plug is still viable, it's still good. I'm just gonna leave it as is and put that in the iodine too, since we cut some flesh. So these are the nightmares. As you can see here, it's kind of attached 4 sides to this like rock in the middle. This guy has ventured out, so I think our line is going to be here. So again, same process. This one's a little bit tougher. Slide it right down here. Go ahead and slice it Now we are severed. That flesh on the plug is severed. And same thing, we'll just go ahead and hope and pray that the plug breaks where we want it to break. And it did. Perfect. So again, same thing. So now we've got a viable frag here and here. Clean this up now. If you wanted to, you don't have to clean it up. If you feel a little bit apprehensive about taking this off and taking some of the sides off, but I just like to get it down to as little as possible when it comes to the frag plug. And then here. The reason I close my hand around it is it just prevents stuff from flying everywhere, honestly. There you go. Single polyp nightmare frag. Try that. And glue. Pull him out here. Right there on the glue. Go ahead and press it down. And there we go. Put him in the iodine. All right, now we're gonna do the Blue Lagoon here. This is probably gonna be the most difficult out of all of them. Plan your route of attack here. In this case, I see that as I'm going to first remove the rock, see how it was on another plug here, and Jeremy just glued it down there, which is totally fine. The frag looks great, but for ease of cutting, we need to get this down to a smaller size right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try and pop this off. There we go. Landed softly on the paper towel. We're left with this. So we have to decide kind of where we're going to cut. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go right in between these two large polyps here. So I was taught this by a friend where you take the blunt end, the not sharp end of the razor, and just kind of, you can separate a little bit. All right, so we have severed the flesh. And this entire time I realized that this has been on the table. If you feel so inclined, make sure to put this over your face. All right, so now we've got the flesh severed. So we're gonna go in that same line again, right here, and just kind of pop it. And with these more difficult ones, you might have to go back in with the razor blade if they don't want to let go. There we go. I was really just trying to figure out where that flesh was still hanging on. It ended up being the plug instead. So same thing. We've got a couple frag plugs here. We'll go ahead and glue them up. That one's still open the entire time. Corals are weird. You never know how they're gonna react to stuff like this, And we'll go ahead and let these sit in the iodine for another like 5 minutes or so. I'll go ahead and rinse them. It's a good idea to have specimen cup or a rinse container as well with fresh tank water. Just kind of dip them in there a couple times and you should be good to put them back into the tank. All right, well, I think I'd call that a successful fragging session, and I got some extra frags out of it, and now I've got that redundancy that I wanted when we started this thing. Let's check out the new frags and see how they're doing. This is the Blue Lagoon. Got the Reef News Network Gremlins back here, and this is the Nightmare. So they're all out and open, sorry buddy, and doing well. And then these are the main colonies here in the lagoon. Again, the Nightmare, Reef News Network Gremlins, and the Blue Lagoon. So we've got viable frags. Everybody survived and is happy and already out a day later. I'm sure I left something out of this video, so if you have any questions, please leave them below in the comment section and I'll try to help you out where I can. The best way, in my mind, to frag any kind of coral is to go through and do the research. There are tons of videos on fragging acros and fragging leathers and fragging zoanthids. What I do is take all of those videos and come up with an average. What are the things that they do in every single video? And that's kind of how I developed my style, if you want to call it that. And whatever is comfortable for you, that's what you should do. And that's probably the coolest part about this hobby, is that everybody has their own way of doing things so that they can achieve a successful reef tank. For those wondering, I did take a look at the Little Shop of Horror frag, and it just didn't look like there was a good place to cut. And with something like that, I don't want to take any chances. However, in the future, I might do a video where I just frag nothing but high-end Zoas. I've got a Grandmaster Krakatoa that's popping out some babies, and I've also got that little shop of horrors, both higher-end Zoanthids, and it might be fun to, you know, give myself a minor heart attack during a video. So it might be entertaining for you too. And no, I wouldn't just be fragging to frag. It would be the same thing. It would be for redundancy, to put a frag in the lagoon and a frag in the frag mire or the frag tank. I just want to make sure that I've got that redundancy, especially with the higher end stuff that I don't have redundancy on. Hey, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you're notified whenever I upload new videos. For those interested, I was talking to my wife about possibly renovating this area, and she suggested maybe a different room in the basement. I think it would be nice to get this area back for entertaining purposes, and so it might be nice to not have to put up cardboard in the windows and have a interior room down here. I'm looking at it right now that could potentially become a coral lab or a coral research center or a coral room or a place that my wife can shut the door when we have people over. Kidding. She is super supportive of this hobby, which is awesome. And if you have a supportive spouse or significant other, more power to you. It's the best thing in the world. It's good because she hasn't found the big pile of debt that I've racked up with all this coral back here. Go back and look at the full basement tour, the Llama's Lair tour, if you want to guess on which room I may be talking about. And that's not happening anytime soon, by the way. Just throwing that out there. While we're here, I just want to thank Scott Crow and Ocean State Aquatics for all of the support that they've shown the Bahama Llama Coral channel. I really appreciate it. If you get a second, go check them out on Instagram, also the website osachoice.com, and follow along as they build out the mega store. I cannot wait for this to be completed. It looks awesome so far. If it's your first time here and you're still watching this, you're like, why is he still talking? Why is he still talking about cardboard in his windows? Questioning life, like what's going on right now? Who am I? What is this world? We just a bunch of tetrahedrons just kind of like moving about. Can you explain to me what the end of the movie Interstellar is all about? Cheers to another rambling end to a video. All right, I'm gonna go have some leftover Easter candy now. I'm pretty violent with those Cadbury cream eggs, so eye protection. Okay, bye.